I've got a friend. He keeps up with these groups. He says they're moving away from the old violent racist style. So that's what Duke is peddling now. It's becoming mainstream.
Duke.
David Duke, current Grand Wizard of the Klan, but he's always in a three-piece suit, never seen in a hood or robe in public, and he now goes by National Director. So he's clearly got his sights on higher office.
Politics? How so?
I think it's another way to sell hate. Keep going. Think about it. Affirmative action, immigration, crime, tax reform. He says no one wants to be called a bigot anymore. I guess Archie Bunker made that too uncool. So the idea is under all these issues, everyday Americans can accept it, support it, until eventually, one day, you get somebody in the White House that embodies it.
Sarge, come on. America would never elect somebody like David Duke, President of the United States of America.
Coming from a black man, that's pretty naive.
Wow. For so many reasons, I feel sick right now. A look at the movie Black Klansman, which is based on the true story of Ron Stallworth, who broke barriers in the 1970s as the first African-American detective serving on the Colorado Springs Police Department, and how the undercover cop became a card-carrying member of the Ku Klux Klan. Joining us now is the film's director, producer, and writer, award-winning filmmaker Spike Lee, nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. The film has also earned Spike his first nomination for Best Director, and he could become the first African-American to ever win the category in the history of the Academy. So congratulations on that alone. Joe has the first question for you. Joe?
Well, and Spike,
hey,
congratulations on everything. It's always great to see you. I got to start with the most important question in your life. The New York Knicks. What's going on with the Knicks, and how can they be the most valuable franchise in the NBA when they just keep losing? How do they turn it around?
Well, we're trying to reach Mount Zion.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's messed up is they changed the rule. Now it's the 3 worst teams, and we just have 14% chance of winning, but our prayers will be delivered. And I like the coach, and it's going to be orange and blue skies again in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena.
Most important question, are we going to get KD? Are we going to get Durant in the offseason?
At this moment, I'm not able to speak about this. Let's talk about the film.
All right.
Well, I'm
wanna
going to
hear about the
ask you
movie.
about the film because I watched Black Klansman the weekend of the news coming out about Governor Northam being in blackface. And the movie is stunning. It gave me the chills just because, you know, like that scene you just saw.
Yeah.
It is happening right now here today. And you've made a movie about blackface.
Right.
What do you...
Oh, that was bamboozled.
Exactly. What do you make of today and race in America?
Well, I just think that what we've seen is evident to me that this stuff has never gone away. You might think it's away, might think it's gone away, it's bubbling under the surface, and it comes out. I mean, people have passed, and then you put that in with Gucci and Prada and Moncler and Liam, and you know, it's just like, and this guy in the White House. So it's. I also like to say the reason why I'm wearing this hat and pullover is that 100 years ago, the first slaves were brought to this country, Jamestown, Virginia.
Yep.
1619, 2019. I think that a lot of people need to know this because this is part of American history, which is not all good. You know, I think that when I was in public school in Brooklyn, New York, I was not told George Washington owned slaves. I just told that he chopped down the cherry tree and wouldn't tell a lie. In 1492, this terrorist sailed the ocean blue. I mean, we got to start teaching. In my opinion, let's be honest about our history and let's move forward. If we're not honest about our history, we're going to be talking about this stuff again and again and again. We got to move forward.
And I think this movie opens up a lot of that conversation. It's based, for people who don't know, on a memoir, a true story, as Mika said in the introduction, of something that happened in Colorado Springs, Colorado, in the 1970s.
Right.
What grabbed you about this story? I mean, you are very careful in the movies you make. You don't crank out a ton of them. You want to tell a story with each one. What was it about this story that grabbed you?
Just the premise. Out of nowhere, Jordan Peele of Get Out fame called me up and said, Spike, I want to talk to you. I said, okay. I have a film. He gave me a 6-word pitch. The greatest six-word pitch in the history of the studio system. Black man infiltrates Ku Klux Klan. I said, David Chappelle did this already. I said, nah, this is for real. Yes. For real. And Ron Stallworth, in the mid-70s, infiltrated Ku Klux Klan. He also ended up being David Duke's bodyguard. So it's one of those things that it sounds so crazy, it can't be true, but it is true. And with the absurdity of the premise, that allowed humor to be brought in, because of humor, there's a lot of people laugh in this film, in certain parts. But the humor, we weren't writing jokes. The humor organically comes from the crazy premise.
It's absurd, yeah.
Absurd.
Yeah.
So there's this moment where you kind of do this flash forward, flashback. It's a classic move from watching your films. And Harry Belafonte is putting forward this extraordinary message. What are you trying to convey to the moviegoer at that moment about the state of the country and our journey to this moment?
Well, I think that one of the things that I know one of the things why this film has hit globally. You know, we made as much money internationally as we did here in the States, is that we connected the past with present day. Charlottesville happened before we began to shoot. That's August 10th or 11th. We began the week after Labor Day. But as soon as I saw that, I knew this had to be the end of the film. I knew this had to be a coda, but first I had to call up Susan Bro. Susan's the mother, had a hair. I asked for permission. She gave me she blessed me and the project and said, okay. But this, I still think about Charlottesville, and that was, for me, unfiltered, homegrown American terrorism.
Yeah.
That car going down to this crowded street, and Heather Hair's no longer here because that Susan Bro doesn't have a daughter because of that.
Mike Barnicle has a question for you. Mike.
Spike, you've...
No Red Sox stuff. I don't want to hear about nothing about nothing Boston sports.
Okay.
In the hallway. I'll meet you in the hallway.
Oh, here we go.
All right. Kyrie's still not coming. But anyway, George Washington, Christopher Columbus, our history or lack of history knowledge in this country. It's awards season in Los Angeles and Hollywood. Why do you think that your body of work, which creates dialogue around the biggest issue in this country, are issues with race and over race, your body of work, more likely than not, all of it, addresses these issues? Why is it that you haven't been allowed to stand up on that stage in Los Angeles and accept a Lifetime Achievement Award for continually introducing this discussion into the United States?
Well, I did that. I did do that. I have an Oscar. I have an honorary Oscar. This is different. But it really comes to anytime there's awards, who's voting? It wasn't until April Rain with hashtag Oscar So White and Cheryl Bruton Isaacs, who was the president then of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, they pushed the thing open so the voting body is more diverse. 1989, Do the Right Thing, Dry Miss Daisy. You know, so it's the voting member is more diverse. It looks more like America. That's why more people of color are receiving recognition within the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
Well, the film is Black Klansman, Spike Lee. Oh, Joe, you want to jump in one more time?
Well, I just wanted to make one comment. Spike, you talk about 1619, and you talk about Americans confronting history.
Right.
I've spent my entire life reading history. I majored in it. Since I was 5 years old, 6 years old, I was reading about history. I didn't know until 2 weeks ago, after Northam, somebody brought up that 10 of our first 12 presidents owned slaves. 10, let me say that again. 10 of our first 12 presidents owned the truth that people like Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, also created founding documents that extended freedom beyond their lives and even beyond the emancipation
but the
of slaves.
freedom,
How do we do that?
The freedom was not for slaves, and the Constitution says we're 3/5 of human beings. Did you read that? We were like 3/5. Another thing like this, I know we got to go. We have to talk about the genocide of Native Americans. They get overlooked. This country was built on, in my opinion, genocide of Native Americans and slavery. That's the foundation of this country, and I'm glad you mentioned the fact about people don't know that 10 or 12, the first American presidents were slaves. So it's complex, you know. People can write this beautiful things for democracy, but it did not apply to my ancestors. So let's be honest about it. That's how we move forward, in my opinion.
I agree.
Knicks.
You like that segue? Let's go Knicks. It's great to have you on. Please come back. The film is Black Klansman. Spike Lee, thank you. Good luck at the Oscars.
Good luck, Oscar.
Good luck.
Oscar voters,
Good
they
luck.
remember Spike Lee for Best Director.
Thank you.
Please do come back.
I want you.
Still ahead, we'll discuss President Trump's next possible move after Congress reaches a border security plan that he says he is not happy with. Plus, NBC's Ken Dilanian joins us with reporting on the Senate finding no direct evidence that the Trump campaign conspired with Russia. And Natasha Bertrand, who says the same source told her that the word direct is, quote, doing a lot of work here. Morning Joe is back in 1 minute.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.